to see an additional individual had joined our gathering. I counted 6 of us lounging around the pit fire, yet I realized we had ventured out from home with 5. The 6th individual had gone along with us incidentally, yet where and when precisely, I was unable, no doubt. Every one of the sparkling contents looked recognizable, similar to how I had known them for a lifetime. To that end, it took such a long time to find the man awkward. I needed to go through the appearances individually. I went through my set of experiences with them, describing how I met them, how I knew them. I fit everyone into my recollections like unique pieces. To start with, there was Imprint. He was sitting close to Sarah, talking her up as usual. I met Imprint and Sarah a long time back in the 10th grade. Mark and I played wide recipient together in the school football crew. Sarah was a team promoter, and Imprint generally felt weak at the knees over her. The 3 of us began hanging out after games, Imprint being a tease relentless, and Sarah, in every case, cleverly censuring him sooner or later. Then there was Ben. We had been closest companions starting from the 1st grade, indivisible since we knockheads playing tag during break. He had his arm around his long-term sweetheart, Justine. She began at our school when she moved from Chicago in the 7th grade. Ben sat close to her in English, and soon she turned into a piece of our gathering at that point. She was calm and bashful when she initially showed up. Be that as it may, when we got to know her, she opened up. She was one of the coolest and most pleasant individuals you might at any point get to meet. She had likewise become close with Sarah in the past couple of years, and afterward there was the 6th face, the piece that didn't fit. I gazed at him, and his name got away from me. That is assuming I at any point had it in my memory banks. In any case, he looked recognizable, yet I was unable to put him in my recollections. Be that as it may, why, assuming I remembered him, could I not recall his name? For what reason did he sit among us, going about as though he had a place? He gazed at Imprint and Sarah as they talked. He giggled when they chuckled, grinned when they grinned. I was unable to sort it out. The inquiry consumed my mind. How had he, an outsider, joined our little gathering with none of us seeing something wrong? Yo, watchman, Ben pulled me from my viewpoints. Your mind floating around in dreamland or something to that effect. I was simply enlightening Justine concerning our 5th grade educator. What was his name once more? Mr. Smith, I said. Gracious, definitely. Mr. Smith. I let Justine know how you could aggravate that person like no other individual. Recollect that time you turned in a task imprinted in yellow ink? Ben and Justine chuckled. No doubt I recollect that, I said. I can, in any case, see the steam emerging from his ears. Once more, they giggled, and I participated weakly. At the point when I looked at the bizarre man's way, he was watching us, smiling. He was continuously watching, consistently on the fringe, and wouldn't ever share. Part of the explanation, he had remained unnoticed. I was hit with the feeling that he was concentrating on us. My skin slithered. Ben depleted his lager and tossed the void can in the cooler. Indeed, I have to urinate, he said, and strolled into the forest, gobbled up by the dim. You truly know how to irritate individuals when you need to. Huh? Justine said. I shrugged. I was experiencing difficulty zeroing in on the discussion. The heaviness of the circumstance, its truth, was beginning to hit me. An odd man had joined our gathering inconspicuously. Furthermore, who the fuck understood what his inspirations were? Questions hustled through my brain. None I could reply. How had no other person seen at this point? Why had it taken me such a long time to take note? Is it true or not that I was going crazy? Did I have amnesia and fail to remember this one companion of our own? What on earth was happening here? The odd man remained with jerkiness. I must pee, he said. It was whenever I first heard him talk. He talked with an odd drawl. Maybe he needed to drive the words from his throat. He strolled with an abnormal door, and like Ben, vanished behind the dull cover of the trees. No other person winced. Justine continued to talk. I generally adored the involved acquaintance you and Ben have. It was so difficult moving urban communities and abandoning all my lifelong companions. Well, I can't say anything negative excessively. I could never have met Ben and all you folks in any case. Justine, don't you see what's happening here? Huh? You're letting me know you haven't taken note? Notice what? Watchman? What are you referring to? Who was that person? I signaled to the cleared spot the odd man abandoned. Goodness him. He's, She followed off. She grimaced into the fire. I could see her brain ticking over, and her eyes twinged with concern. I realized I wasn't going off the deep end. I don't have any idea, she said. Who is it? That is the thing I'm attempting to sort out. We gazed at one another. Perhaps. Justine was cut off. An ear-penetrating shriek came from the forest. It seemed like a deafening, harmed feline. An enormous feline. The sound split the air and cut our discussions off. A sweeping of quiet fell over the four of us. Just the snapping pit fire endured. The forest was still and calm. That's what the fuck was. Imprint pour the quiet. I don't have the foggiest idea, Sarah said. I've never fully heard of a creature like that previously. It seemed as though some screwed up mountain lion, Justine said. You heard of such a thing? Watchman? I shook my head. My fingers shivered with adrenaline. Ben was still in the forest, and the odd man was out there with him. Fear filled my stomach. There's no mountain lions around here, Imprint said. It's presumably an elk. They can utter a few frightening sounds, Sarah concurred. Justine bit her lip and filtered the forest. It's probably okay. I believe Imprint's right, I shared with her. Yet, I didn't know I trusted it. Imprint and Sarah had fired up their discussion again when the peculiar man blundered free and clear. They paid him no brain. I was trusting something would have set off in them at this point, yet they were unaware. The peculiar man took a brew from the cooler. He bungled with it, battling with the tab. It was with no guarantees whenever I had never opened a can. At the point when he at long last had it open, he sat, lager close by, and kept on watching Imprint and Sarah, a dainty grin all over. He never took a taste. I watched him from across the pit fire, his head faltering behind the intensity. I addressed what made me uncomfortable with this weird man. Beside the reality, he had figured out how to penetrate our gathering with practically no of us seeing for quite a while. He moved with jerkiness and ponderousness, similar to an infant creature. Nothing he did was smooth or very much rehearsed. It made all that he seemed to be a demonstration, an impersonation. I didn't make the association at that point, yet I ought to have seen this man was not exactly human. Yet, right now, I didn't know what to think. I simply thought he was an oddity. I thought about getting down on him, without even a moment's pause. I needed to ask him exactly what in blazes he was doing. Be that as it may, I'll concede I was frightened. I had dreams of this person being some terrible chronic executioner, and I didn't have any idea how risky he was. Or on the other hand, in the event that he was outfitted, I would have rather not driven him into accomplishing something extreme that got every one of us killed. As time passed by with no indication of Ben, I became persuaded the odd man had done something to him. I watched him plotting, arranging, and denoting his next target. Outrage grew from my apprehension, and I began to see red. I expected to stop him. We utilized a hatchet to slash kindling for our pit fire, and it was resting up against my seat. This man was perilous. I made certain of it. I persuaded myself I expected to accomplish something before another of us was straight away. I gripped at the hatchet's handle. The smooth wood felt consoling in my grasp. Justine contacted my arm. "Watchman, where's Ben? I'm getting apprehensive." "It's all right," I lied, tapping her hand. "I'm certain all is great." I remained with the hatchet close by. "I will get some more kindling," I reported more clumsily than I trusted. All right, buddy," Imprint said. "Watchman," Justine's voice faltered. Making some noise was a slip-up. I had drawn the consideration of the odd man. I strolled past him, attempting to go about as casual as could really be expected. However, I was never a decent entertainer. He watched me the entire way. He kept up with his glare as I arrived at the edge of the forest, and as he thought back, his head pivoted around an unnatural distance. That was sufficient to cool my spine. I was trusting he would pivot, to turn away and give me an opening, be that as it may. He never did. I'm not precisely certain what occurred straight away. I never saw him stand up and stroll over to me. I never at any point saw him move a solitary muscle. Yet, in a moment, he was remaining before me, inches away from my face. Maybe he was magically transported. A metallic smell stung my nose. The bizarre man smelled of blood and copper. The hatchet shuddered in my grasp.